perspective. Alright, so what's up, guys? As you saw by the intro, I was doing some cool art. Well, I was doing a cool example of one of the many tricks that I use when I'm creating a comic book. And actually, that's what today's episode is about. It's about the tricks that I use personally. These are my personal bag of tricks or techniques or ideas that I use when I'm creating comics in general. And the reason why I'm doing this series is because I didn't want to just go back to doing the regular tutorials that we normally used to seeing on the internet. You know, you've seen them on YouTube where somebody shows you how to draw a hand or a foot or a nose, and it's do this, do this, do this. No, I wanted to give you guys some value. And I have a lot of guys asking me to be either a mentor or if they can be my apprentice or anything like that. And the answer is always no. The reason being, I can't afford nobody else. I can only afford me. So it actually has nothing to do with you guys. It has everything to do with me. It's all about me in that regard. So I do want to give you guys the value that you deserve, because I definitely want to be able to teach and pass on just some of the things that I've learned and the lessons that I've learned. And I wanted to do it in a way where you didn't have to go out of your way. I didn't have to go out of my way. So, hey, why not do a series of tutorials based exclusively off of just the tricks of the trade that I use or that I've picked up from other artists over the years. So this first trick basically is my 1-point perspective trick. And if you don't know, I'm a big fan of 1-point perspective in comics. The reason being, it simplifies everything. KIS, keep it simple, stupid. And you can do a lot of different dynamic things with 1-point perspective. In this particular sequence, I was able to establish 3 guys getting ready to get to a fight in a room, and it was all there visually for the reader to see and for you guys to see. So what did I do to do that? Well, simple. Most artists that are on this channel know how to do 1-point perspective. You know, you draw a horizon line, you put a vanishing point, lines stretch out from the vanishing point, and then you make sure everything goes back to the vanishing point, and then you know, you keep the lines perpendicular or parallel to your horizon line. Okay, cool. We all know how to do that, right? So how does that help me or help anybody make some dynamic artwork? Well, because 1, I use a grid method now, and 2, I don't just draw a regular horizon line. A horizon line can go straight, right? But guess what? Just tilt it a little bit, like so. And that tilt adds a little bit more flavor to the art. So when you have your vanishing point, right? When you have your vanishing point and the lines just jutting out from it, now everything looks a little bit different. It looks a little bit more dynamic. Just that little tilt. And you get that in movies. A lot of movie directors will tilt the camera up just enough to make a character look bigger. Tip it down just enough to make a character look smaller, or maybe make a character feel smaller in the space. In art or in comics, it's the same thing. Our drawings are basically us lensing or using a camera to show a scene. So we use pretty much the exact same tricks that a cameraman would use. Up shots, same angular shots, different shots. So in this case, I manipulated by basically changing up my horizon line. But also another trick that I use is that when I draw my grid in, which would be my parallel lines to the horizon line, the parallel lines that I draw, I make sure that I use them to help me size my characters on the board. For instance, in the drawing that I made, I first drew the guy furthest to the back right, and what I did was I made sure that his head was touching a specific point or one of the specific parallel lines. Now that his head is touching that line, and I see kind of where how he's positioned in proportion of his body, you can see most of his body. That means that the next guy, who was a little bit over to the right, his head's going to touch that same line, but he's going to be a little bit closer because his head's bigger, right? So he can't have that big old head be far back. He's got to be closer, and you're going to see less of his body. Well, if I do that, then of course, then the other guy over to the left, his head is huge, so he's got to be the closest to the camera. So that's one of the reasons why I always say that drawing comics, creating comics is just like creating that big budget action flick, or just creating a big budget movie, or even any budget movie, just creating your own movie, because you're doing a lot of the same things that a cameraman would do with an expensive camera, DSLR, whatever you want to call it. But by doing that and choosing how to frame your shots, you also make it dynamic. So in this case, I actually have these guys set up sort of in a nice little triangle that can really manipulate your eyes. So you really kind of see exactly where these guys are. And this triangle really keeps the eye moving and keeps the audience engaged. Now these guys could be saying, all three of these guys could be saying something, and you're going to want to hear, you're going to follow right along with them. They could be all saying something macho, who knows. It's a fight scene. And the other thing, this helps me lay out and block out the background and make sure that it falls perfectly in proportion to the characters in the shot. So all things considered, these are just some of the little tricks that I do that make for a very dynamic comic book panel. And I use these constantly. You've seen them in KWAME HIGHTOWER. You've seen them in Quantum University. And I'm going to keep using these tricks. So again, disclaimer, these are my tricks, my personal bag of tricks. This is or techniques, whatever you want to call it. Some people may like it, some people may not. And if you like it and you try it out, let me know if it works for you. And just kind of going back over it, just draw your horizon line, maybe draw it at a different angle, whatever angle you choose. Of course, draw your lines extending from it so that you know where to pull back to. And of course, draw parallel lines to create a grid. And then you use the grid to not only size your characters, but to place the environment around them perfectly, or place the environment first, place them in the environment perfectly, so that everybody is in proportion, ready to go, ready for action. All right, guys, so if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, I would love for you guys to subscribe. We love new subscribers. And also hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think, and let me know what other questions you may have. And guys, you can always reach me on Twitter, on Instagram at DKG72. And of course, hit that Facebook page, David Gordon 72. All right, guys, it's your boy DKG72. I hope you like this new series that I've got, and I don't know what we're going to call it yet. I think what's in my bag of tricks, maybe my techniques. Check my technique. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you guys think I should call it. All right, but on that note, guys, I'm out. Peace.